It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
What's going on, everyone? Thanks for checking out my channel. Today I will be reviewing Silent Night, Deadly Night. I have never seen the film before. Of course, I've heard about it being one of the most controversial slasher films ever made, mainly because it was such a heavily promoted film that had a Santa Claus killer in it. Well, it was advertised, like that. But the film really isn't about, the mythical Santa Claus coming and killing children as the kind of ads and the trailer sort of suggests. The film was released in 1984. And like I said, it had all this controversy behind it, and it was pulled from theaters during Christmas time. So yeah, but nonetheless, I've heard a lot about it, and usually I don't find Christmas kind of horror films very watchable. I've not seen Krampus. I have seen Black Christmas, the original and the remake, and I think that's probably the best, Christmas-oriented film like that you're gonna find. But anyway, Silent Night, Deadly Night is pretty good for what it is. It's it has some top-notch kills, man. But getting into it, it's about like a kid that's basically traumatized by Santa Claus. He goes and sees his grandfather, who's like mentally ill in a hospital. And he's not speaking, he doesn't say anything until the parents, which leave them alone with this guy, his mentally ill grandfather, starts telling him Christmas is the scariest time of the year. And he punishes those who are naughty, so you better be nice. And there's this whole thing about it, which is a pretty creepy thing. And then I don't know where they're headed to after that, but then you see a guy dressed up as Santa Claus hold up a liquor store, shoot the clerk, and then he's like posted up with his vehicle on the side of the road. They go stop. The whole family goes and stops to see if this guy needs a ride or help or anything, and he shoots the father as they take off. Once they realize that they're being held up. And then the mother literally pretty much gets sexually molested, and the kid runs off into like whatever in some bush somewhere off on the side of the road and watches all this happen. He watches Santa Claus, pretty much sexually molest and slit the throat of his mother. And then it's sort of implied that the little baby didn't make it either, but they don't show that. So, and that's a very like heart-wrenching way to start the film. It's like, God, that's dark and twisted, But then from that point on, it seems like they really wanted to not go that like dark with it. I mean, it is in some ways, but that's like the most like, ugh. But I think it's to drill it in your head that this guy was traumatized by Santa Claus. So he grows up like in a Catholic school, raised by nuns. I guess now he's an orphan or whatever, and they're like forcing him to be okay with Santa Claus. They're forcing him to sit on Santa's lap. He rocks Santa Claus right in the frickin' nose as like a 7-year-old, and then he becomes a little older, and the nuns. He becomes 18, and the nuns get him his first job at a toy store during the holidays. Great idea for when they know he's traumatized by Santa. But anyway, so when that kind of point hits, and by the way, there's some crazy like weird like stuff that happens in this film is like very 80s like montage for no reason, and like very sappy, cheesy sitcom-esque music when all of that happens. This movie's very...
I'm looking for the warm side of the door where the fire...
Tone-wise, it's kind of like all over the place, and like things escalate quick or things don't escalate as fast as they should, it seems. But nonetheless, the story does kind of keep prevailing throughout this whole thing, and it is sort of a better slasher movie than some of them. It's definitely not the best, definitely not the worst. It kind of falls in between. But so you get to the part where basically, I believe it's Christmas Eve, and you know, he the toy store he works at has this big after store holiday party, and they, you know, get really drunk, and Billy didn't drink at first in the movie, and then the boss of the store gets him to start drinking. They're drinking J&B, and I don't, he says, the boss says something like, you know, you are Santa, and it kind of makes him go nuts a little more, and it gets in his head, you know. So, and also another thing too is that he is completely traumatized by any type of like sexual, like if he sees any kind of sex happening in front of him in any way, or like intimacy, I guess, you know, the whole like his mom being sexually molested by Santa thing comes into his mind, and he goes and decides that he's Santa and he must punish those who are naughty by killing them. So he goes on a complete killing spree. He kills this couple that is having sex in the store during the party. That's kind of where it begins. Then he kills his boss. He kills one of the sales clerks. And then he's just sort of, then he gets into like Halloween mode, and he's wandering around neighborhoods. He finds Linnea Quigley and her boyfriend, which, yeah, you see Linnea Quigley's breasts again. Another thing about slasher movies in the 80s. And they basically do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing where he just, you know, right through the antlers. But you see the penetration this time. So
Punished! Punished! Punished!
Later, you see what Tobe Hooper originally wanted to do. So yeah, you know, I don't want to spoil the rest. So, you know, the cast is really good. I don't even know any of the members' names, but the nun is probably like, she kind of is like a solid performance by her in this. Billy's not bad. The guy who plays Billy, like I said, don't know any of their names, except Linnea Quigley. But yeah, you know, the gore is like top notch, and it's like it starts out really kind of twisted and dark to kind of show you that how screwed up this kid is. But then it just falls under like campy, fun slasher film, in my opinion, with a great Christmas twist that isn't like over the top. Like, you know, again, the whole thing with this was all that controversy, and I think everyone just assumed this was about Santa, the mythical Santa killing kids, you know, which it's not. It's really goes into detail about how twisted something as, I guess, innocent or whatever as Santa Claus and Christmas can really still mess a person up, you know, especially when it's like enforced on you, as it really is, you know. You know, so Silent Night, Deadly Night has a lot of cool kills. Like I said, there's basically the Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage with Linnea Quigley, who, you know, that's probably the goriest kill. My favorite kill is definitely the beheading on the sled. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out Silent Night, Deadly Night. I know there was a remake, and I heard that it has absolutely nothing to do with the original, and it's not anything like it. But yeah, I would say for the holidays, if you want to watch something, splatter film wise, check this out. Yeah, keep it away from the kids.
Cindy, if you don't go back to bed, Santa won't come.
He's not the only one.
Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for checking out my YouTube channel. I really would appreciate a subscribe and a like. If you guys would check out CucamongaPeakProductions.com for information on my short films and other film reviews I've done, I'd really appreciate it. Happy holidays, guys.